Oh, it's an extra special edition of Extra Time today because Stevie's back. Hooray!
Was that sarcastic, Clever?
No, I'm really happy you're back.
Oh, yeah.
And Ian Darke's with us too. Hooray! Okay, so we've got lots of questions for you guys.
Good job you gave him a clap as well.
You both deserve a clap. Say that again, Ian.
Where's he been? Where's Stevie been away to?
Well, I would say vacation, but I don't think he'll call it that.
I was babysitting. I was babysitting a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old for 6 days in Philadelphia. It was no vacation.
It was no Philadelphia freedom, let me tell you. All right, for Stevie, did you ever have a teammate you disliked so much that it was hard to stand up for him during the game, or were the differences forgotten when you stepped on the field? You don't have to say the name, but you can if you want.
To be fair, there's generally, in most teams and most dressing rooms, there's somebody that you don't get, or somebody that gets up your beak. But I would say that on the field changes everything, because you cannot carry anything like that onto the field, because if you do, then it affects everybody else. It's not just a case of it affects you or the guy you don't get on with. It affects the whole team.
Is it easy to shake it off when you go on the field? You just forget?
Yeah, I had no problem with it. It was always about, right, we've got to do this. Doesn't matter whose name's on the jersey. This is what we have to do, regardless of whether you like the guy or not.
All right. Have you guys ever seen a partnership between two fullbacks like Robertson and Alexander-Arnold? It seems like they have a great synergy between the two. Ian?
No, I can't think of any off the top of my head. They're right up there, aren't they, in the top 2 or 3 for assists in the whole of the Premier League. Two wonderful, creative fullbacks. I think any manager would love to have them. I mean, there's always that slight question mark about Alexander-Arnold, isn't there, that Gareth Southgate doesn't seem to rate his defensive work, which is why he has to think twice about picking him for squads. But you know, Jurgen Klopp wouldn't swap them, and I don't think anybody else would either. Great pairing.
How are you, Stevie?
No, but then nobody else plays the way Liverpool play. It's all to do with the way they play, you know, and it's also got to do with the way they like the ball in particular. You know, you could never hit a ball from, when I say the width of the field, up until recently, you couldn't kick the ball that far. It just wasn't possible. But with the ball now, they can, and the way they play, then they both find themselves open because they're coming late. So they're very difficult to pick up. So when you come late, you get more time and more space. And of course, when Alexander-Arnold picks his head up and sees Robertson over the other side all on his lonesome, then his accuracy of pass, he just pings it. So
Would you like to play in this Liverpool side?
Oh, absolutely. Because you're further forward all the time. Even though I played fullback, I always wanted to get forward. So to play in this, the way this team plays, must be fantastic. It must be great fun.
I bet. All right, Stevie, seeing this Liverpool team press that high, how will they defend against the likes of Vinicius should they meet in the final?
Just exactly the same way they do it. Because if they're pressing high and causing problems for the opposition, whether it's Real Madrid or anybody else, to get out, then people like Vinicius don't see the ball. So if they do that properly all the time, doesn't matter who's playing against them, Vinicius or Benzema or anybody else, if they can't get out, they don't get the ball, and if they don't have the ball, they don't hurt you.
Ian, if Everton go down, will it be the biggest relegation story in the Premier League era?
Yeah, I think it would. They've been close to going down a couple of times before, notably 1994 it was, when they were trailing at half-time against Wimbledon. If they'd lost, they were going down. They won the game by 3-2. So they've had close shaves before. They're really looking down the barrel, aren't they, now? They haven't been relegated, I think I'm right in saying, since 1951. They've been in the top flight since 1954. This is a club who, well, Stevie will remember in his era, were winning trophies on a pretty regular basis. Not so much, of course, lately, but they're still a big club and perceived as a big club. So if they went out of the Premier League, that would be big headlines.
It's crazy to think that the games you've played against Everton over the years, that this is the situation they're in now.
I know. Actually, the question, I'm going to ask you a question. Would it be bigger, Everton getting relegated? Or would it be Leeds United? Considering that Leeds United went from the semi-final of the Champions League to, what, 3 years later? Got relegated and I think ended up in the old third division. So that might be bigger than Everton getting relegated. The fact that a team was in the semi-final of Champions League and only, what, 3 years later were relegated. I mean, that's some time.
Yeah, and such a young team with so much promise as well. Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, it is. But I think they're going to stay up, Leeds. I think Jesse Marsh is doing a pretty good job there. They battled hard for their point against Crystal Palace. They've got a tough run of games coming up, mind you, so this isn't over for them, but they look like they might just about have enough.
And that's staying up, but a meaning...
You need to clean your ears to it.
No, I understand why you might have gone that way.
Clean your ears out, Ian.
No, but Ian, just Leeds United when they got relegated.
I'll speak slowly with that. I was talking about Leeds when they got relegated before, having played in the Champions League.
Yes.
Just do that, Ian. Clean them out.
In terms of, even if Everton go down, is Leeds going down back then an even bigger story?
I don't think so, because Leeds were out of the top flight for 16 seasons, weren't they? And they came back and did great last season under Bielsa. They've struggled more for lots of reasons. So,
Well, maybe in 16 years, Everton will come back and do great.
I don't know. I'm giving up.
Okay.
He's no idea what we're talking about, is he?
He's just pretending.
Between us, that's the problem, I think, Stevie. Next
Do you want to try
question.
again or we move on? I think we'll just move on. We're wasting the time, right?
Time for nothing.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on.
Aye.
Stevie, you've been adamant that Thiago does not fit within Liverpool. In the past 6 months, has he changed your mind? If he doesn't fit, what alternative would be better? Maybe a Wijnaldum type player?
Yes. I mean, to say he doesn't fit is not what I mean. I don't think I said that, but what I meant was that as good as Thiago is with the ball at his feet...
And getting man of the match performances.
Was that all about man of the match performances? Were you on a typewriter now?
Well, I watched earlier today following the feed while we watched.
So you're talking about the last couple of games, where, particularly against the likes of Everton, who are going to get relegated, by the way, who stand off you, and if you stand off Thiago or any other good player, then they're going to hurt you. My point is not that Thiago's not a good player. My point is, when Liverpool were at their best, when they were winning the Premier League and winning the Champions League, the midfield three was all about getting the ball back and giving it to the front three. It was really simple. Really simple. Now, I think what Klopp's tried to do, bringing Thiago in, is to give them another option passing the ball forward, to maybe play people in, where Fabinho and Henderson and Wijnaldum weren't as silky as Thiago is in playing passes through. But they didn't have to be, because of their energy, the way they played the game, how they got the ball back so quickly. That was their job. Just you three get the ball back, give it to those three, job done. I don't think Liverpool, in a game against a team like Manchester City, and I'm talking about the very best, he has shown in the Premier League against 90% of the teams that he's great, but when it comes to that extra level, that physical attribute you have to have, that those three others, the Wijnaldums and the Fabinhos and the Hendersons I'm talking about have, I think that's important for Liverpool because of the way they play. So I'm talking about the top level. No, he's a great player, yes. He can play passes, yes. But Liverpool, at their very best, had three guys in the middle who are good players, yes, but it was all about the work rate and the closing down and getting the ball for the front three.
All right. Next one is for you, Stevie. Have you ever made a career move that your family didn't like?
Oh, aye. I went from Liverpool to Nottingham, and my wife wasn't particularly happy about it. But she did it nonetheless.
Is it because you had so many friends in Liverpool from the years that you were there?
To be honest, I think she was more worried about the kids, which is daft because, you know, kids will make friends in a couple of hours. But it worked out in the end. But no, she wasn't keen when I put it to her that we would move from Liverpool, where we were settled, kids were in school, the whole thing, to go and start again in Nottingham.
What about coming to the US?
She was up for that big time.
Right.
Aye, no, that wasn't a problem at all. Big time.
Okay, another one for you, and actually I'll ask you both of it. But Stevie, if Liverpool win the quadruple, will it be the greatest achievement in the history of football?
Has to be. Nobody's done it. Hasn't been done. It's like landing on the moon. The first one that does it is never, ever, ever, ever going to be forgotten. That's what's going to happen if they win it.
What do you think, Ian? Would it be the greatest achievement in the history of football?
Since landing on the moon, Ian.
Yep, since landing on the moon, it could even. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to agree because Stevie's right. Nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever thought it was even conceivable, but they were within a month of making it happen. They just need Manchester City to slip up somewhere in the Premier League, then go and win the FA Cup against Chelsea, not easy, and then win the Champions League final. So there's quite a bit to do before it actually happens, but they're good enough to do it, aren't they?
Yep, and it is well within their sights. Okay, Ian, you can answer this one on behalf of all commentators and pundits and everybody else. Why is it when Big Sam or Tony Pulis or Mourinho park the bus, it's anti-football, but when Emery does it, it's brilliant tactics? Villarreal are terrible to watch.
Great question. Brilliant question.
Spectacle, it wasn't great, but you know, Liverpool are a tough team to play against. What are they supposed to do? Go there and take them on and go toe-to-toe with them, blow for blow, because you can't really out-football Liverpool at Anfield. They haven't got good enough players to do that. They're a mighty fine side, Villarreal. They knocked out Bayern Munich, knocked out Juventus, beat Manchester United in the Europa League final. Yeah, maybe they could have played with a little more ambition. They certainly couldn't keep the ball, but they weren't allowed to keep the ball because Liverpool's high press just absolutely suffocated them. So I wouldn't be too harsh on Emery, but the guy asking the question, he's probably right. Yeah.
Was it you, Stevie? Was it
we
you
are
who asked
guilty
this
of
question?
stereotyping
No, it wasn't me.
people.
Wasn't me.
You were clapping, so when you...
Well, because I brought it up last week before I went on vacation, supposedly, that, you know, if Big Sam had done what Simeone did, we would have absolutely slaughtered them. But somehow Simeone, for Atleti, is the messiah. Sticking 10 men behind or 11 men behind the ball. So that's exactly what I said.
The other week. All right, last question. Ian, have you ever lost your voice while commentating? And if yes, what did you do?
Yes, is the answer to that. It was a League Cup tie at Stevenage, believe it or not. I can't remember who they were playing now. And I had a pretty heavy cold, but I thought, you know what? I'll take a couple of tablets. I'll be okay. Get a bit of water down me. But it just got worse and worse and worse. And luckily, I was working with Tony Gale. You might remember him. He used to play for Fulham, Blackburn at the end of his career. I said to him, but you know, I croaked to him before the game and said to him, look, you're going to have to do nearly all the talking here because I can't. And that's how we got through the night somehow. But I shouldn't have been on air that night. I just shouldn't have been there. But there was nothing to be done. It only got bad in the 10 minutes before the game. So it's a wonder it hasn't happened more.
I know. I always actually love it when commentator just loses the voice at the end because you know it's usually an exciting game as well.
Yeah.
And that's why it's happened. Do we say goodbye or do we attempt the Leeds and Everton relegation
let's try
story?
one more time.
All right, you do it.
Ian. Would Everton getting relegated be a bigger story than the Leeds United team that one season was playing the semi-final of the Champions League, and then, but what, 2-3 seasons later got relegated. Which one would be the bigger story?
Now I understand the question. Thank you for the clarification. Welcome back to planet Earth. No, I think, Stevie, I'm going to concur with you. At that time, Leeds going down so soon after being Champions League semi-finalists was a huge, huge story. So it would probably be a tad bigger than Everton going this time. Not that they've gone yet.
Yeah, we got there in the end. We got there.
Patience.
Yeah, no, maybe you should be doing the hosting. Maybe I put it to him wrong. That's probably what it was.
Well, I've been saying
My
this
fault, Ian.
behind the scenes for a while, but nobody seems to
I know,
listen.
all those whispers in the corridor.
Ian.
Thanks so much for your questions. We'll see you tomorrow on the next edition of Extra Time, and of course on ESPN FC, which is available, as you know, 7 days weekly.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.